Imagine a school like where your creativity, your innovation, it's like totally ignored.
Oh, wow.
Right. Just memorizing facts.
Yeah.
That's the reality for students in Nepal
I had no idea.
right now. But we're going to dive into the world of education reform in Nepal
Okay.
and how one educator is trying to change that.
Cool.
We're doing a deep dive into a blog post by ND Lama,
Okay.
who's a school founder and teacher who argues that Nepal's education system needs like a serious overhaul.
Interesting. What's interesting is that ND Lama, they aren't just complaining. Like, they lay out really specific ways to make things better.
Yeah.
They're using real-life examples data.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The main culprit seems to be this massive exam. It's
Right.
called the Secondary Education Examination,
Oh, wow.
or C.
See.
It's basically, it's like, the SATs in the US,
Right.
but with even higher stakes. It covers tons of subjects,
Oh, gee.
and it determines like which university students can go to.
Wow. Okay.
ND Lama says this exam forces students to just cram information
Yeah.
instead of developing like actual skills they need
Right.
for the real world.
That makes sense. It's what we call teaching to the test, where like the entire curriculum is just focused on passing that one exam. It's like imagine training for a marathon,
Right?
but you only run sprints.
Yeah.
You might ace the sprint,
Right.
but for the marathon, you're going to be totally unprepared.
Right.
And that's kind of what's happening in Nepal. Students might pass the C,
Yeah.
but are they actually equipped for the future? I don't know.
And it sounds like ND Lama is seeing this in their computer science classes.
Oh.
Like they want to teach programming and problem solving, like skills that you need in this world driven by AI.
Yeah.
But instead they're stuck teaching outdated material
Oh, no.
just to help students pass the C.
Wow. It's almost heartbreaking. Like, you can feel how passionate they are
Yeah.
about teaching, about preparing these students for the future.
Yeah.
But they're just trapped
Right.
in this system that only cares about memorizing.
Right. And this isn't just a theoretical problem. It's affecting real students.
Right.
ND Lama shares stories about Shalom, Ayush, and Samir, all brilliant computer science students.
Okay.
Shalom builds apps, Ayush excels in robotics, Samir wins coding competitions.
Wow. Like, you might even know someone like Shalom,
Right.
whose passion is like outside traditional tests. These students, they're penalized because they're not good at rote memorization,
Right.
even though they're clearly talented.
It's like saying, okay, you're a brilliant artist,
Right.
but we're going to judge your future on whether you can recite the periodic table.
Yeah, that's so frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Absolutely. And this system, it impacts everything. Think about, the long-term consequences. A student like Ayush, they might be discouraged from pursuing a career in robotics.
Right.
Because they didn't score well on a test that had nothing to do with robotics.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes you wonder how much potential is just wasted
Right.
because the system is so narrow.
Exactly. And beyond that, like the human cost, there's a financial cost too. ND Lama points out that the National Examination Board, or the NEB,
Right.
which runs the C, employs hundreds of staff
Wow.
across 77 districts
Goodness.
just to administer this one exam.
So we're talking about this massive bureaucracy
Yeah.
dedicated to this one test.
Exactly. And it costs money, like roughly $6.75 per student.
Mm.
It might not sound like much,
Yeah.
but when you think about how many students take this exam, it adds up.
So the question is all that money, is it actually making education in Nepal better?
That's the key question. And ND Lama argues that a lot of that money is going towards bureaucracy
Right.
instead of things that actually benefit students.
Right.
Like better teacher training, updated classroom resources. They even suggest that some NEB staff, they could be retrained to mentor teachers
Oh.
or develop new curricula. It's about using resources wisely.
So ND Lama is saying it's not about throwing more money at the problem. It's
Yeah.
about using the money effectively.
Precisely. They're pushing for a total shift in how Nepal views education.
Okay.
ND Lama wants to get away from this centralized exam model and move towards a system that's more flexible,
Right.
responsive to the needs of individual students.
So what does that look like?
Yeah.
What are some of the solutions ND Lama proposes?
Well, one of the big ideas is giving teachers more autonomy.
Okay.
Instead of being forced to teach to the test, ND Lama wants teachers to be able to, like, design their own assessments and projects
Okay.
that actually tap into the students' creativity
I like that.
and problem-solving skills.
So instead of just, memorizing facts, students might be building a robot or designing a weather-resistant house. I love that. It's
Yeah.
hands-on learning tied to real-world problems.
That's the idea. Imagine a science class where students aren't just reading about weather patterns.
Yeah.
They're designing a home that can withstand Nepal's unique climate challenges.
And wouldn't that kind of approach, wouldn't it be more engaging
Yeah.
for both the students and the teachers?
Totally. Instead of being bogged down by these rigid syllabi
Yeah.
and test prep, teachers can become like curriculum designers,
Right.
constantly innovating and adapting their teaching to meet the needs of their students. They would be empowered to create a more dynamic, engaging learning environment.
Okay, so more teacher autonomy is one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
What else does ND Lama propose?
They also talk about using technology
Okay.
to create a more efficient and flexible system
Okay.
for assessments. Remember that big expensive C exam we talked about?
Yeah.
Andy Lama wants to replace it
Okay.
with a secure online platform.
So instead of one giant high-pressure exam,
Right.
students could take exams multiple times a year,
Yeah.
maybe even from their own schools,
Yeah.
at their own pace.
Exactly. This would save a ton of money.
Yeah.
But it would also reduce the stress on students.
Right.
And it would give them more chances to show what they know.
Mhm.
It's like the difference between cramming for one big final exam
Right.
versus taking smaller quizzes
Right.
throughout the semester.
And with an online platform, you could even personalize the learning experience, right?
Yeah.
Students could get more targeted support in areas where they're struggling
Yeah.
and move ahead faster in areas where they excel.
That's the potential.
Right.
Could be a game changer for education in Nepal.
This is a really exciting vision, but I imagine there are some challenges in making this happen.
Yeah.
We'll explore those and more when we come back. So we're back, and before the break, we were discussing some pretty radical ideas for transforming Nepal's education system.
Yeah, it's a big shift.
Yeah, like from rote memorization,
Right.
standardized tests, to a system that values like creativity, real world skills.
And it's not just an academic debate. This is about real students
Right.
in Nepal whose lives are being directly impacted by this system.
Right, like those students Andy Lama talked about, like Shalom,
Right.
Ayush, and Samir.
Yeah.
They're all super talented in computer science,
Yeah.
but they're being held back by this system
Right.
that doesn't recognize their unique abilities.
Exactly. And think about how many other students across Nepal
Right.
might be in the same boat.
Yeah.
Maybe they're amazing artists,
Right.
musicians,
Right.
but they're being forced to conform
Right.
to a system that just isn't designed for them.
It's like we're trying to fit square pegs into round holes,
Yeah.
and then wondering why they're not fitting in.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it raises an important question. Are we setting students up for failure
Right.
by making them all excel in the same way?
That's a really good point, and it makes ND Lama's call for reform even more urgent.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that every student
Right.
has unique potential,
Yeah.
and creating a system that allows them to thrive.
It's about moving beyond this idea
Yeah.
that there's only one way to learn
Right.
and one way to succeed.
Okay, so we've talked about the problems, and we've seen the potential solutions, but let's be realistic.
Right.
What are the challenges in actually making these changes?
Yeah, you're right. It's not going to be easy.
Right.
There are deeply ingrained systems,
Right.
mindsets that are going to be tough to shift.
Like what specifically?
Well, resources are a big one. Andy Lama talks about, shifting funds
Uh-huh.
from the NEB to things like teacher training,
Mm-hmm.
technology.
Right.
But that requires a big change in priorities.
Yeah.
And even if the money is there, you need qualified people
Right.
to do the training,
Yeah.
develop new materials,
Mhm.
building that capacity. It takes time
Right.
and investment.
And there's the cultural piece too.
Right.
The C exam has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It's seen as the key to success.
Yeah.
Parents, teachers, even the students themselves
Right.
are used to this, convincing them to embrace something radically different.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy.
Absolutely. There's this deep-seated belief in standardized testing.
Right.
Even though there's a lot of evidence
Yeah.
that it's not the best way to measure creativity,
Yeah, yeah.
critical thinking.
So how do you change those like deeply held beliefs?
I think it starts with showing, not just telling.
Okay.
If schools can try out some of these new approaches
Hmm.
and prove that they lead to better results,
Yeah.
that's going to be a powerful argument for change.
So give people tangible proof
Exactly.
that this new system can work.
And it's important to include everyone in the process.
Okay.
Teachers, parents, students,
Yeah.
community members.
Hmm.
This can't be top-down reform
Right.
imposed by the government.
So create a sense of ownership
Right.
and buy-in
Exactly.
from the ground up.
And that requires a lot of communication,
Right.
collaboration, a willingness to compromise.
So it's not just about changing the system.
Oh, yeah.
It's about changing hearts and minds.
It's a cultural shift
Yeah.
as much as an educational one.
Okay. So there are definitely some big challenges here.
Yeah.
But let's look at this a different way. What are some of the exciting opportunities that come with this kind of radical reform?
I think the biggest opportunity is the chance to create a truly equitable and empowering education system.
What do you mean by equitable?
I mean, a system that recognizes that students have different strengths,
Uh-huh.
different learning styles,
Yeah.
different goals. And instead of trying to force them all into the same mold,
Yeah.
it provides multiple pathways to success.
So a system that celebrates individual brilliance, like Andy Lama said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a system that prepares students for success in the 21st century,
Mm.
not just for passing exams. We're talking, critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, communication, creativity.
Yeah.
These are the skills that are going to be in high demand,
Right.
in a rapidly changing world.
So it's about preparing students not just for jobs that exist today,
Yeah.
but for jobs that might not even exist yet.
You get it. It's about fostering adaptability,
Hmm.
resilience, a lifelong love of learning.
It sounds like if Nepal can pull this off, they could create like a model
Yeah.
for other countries
Yeah.
to follow. Like it would be a real beacon of innovation
Right.
and hope.
It would send a powerful message that education isn't about conformity or standardization.
Right.
It's about empowering each person to reach their full potential.
Andy Lama doesn't just highlight the problems, they paint this picture of a possible future.
Yeah.
One where teachers have the freedom to innovate.
Where technology is used to personalize learning.
And where students are empowered to be creative problem solvers.
That's the vision.
Yeah.
And it's a vision worth striving for.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
From the challenges of Nepal's current education system, all the way to like the exciting possibilities of a more innovative and equitable approach. It's clear that Andy Lama is advocating for some pretty big changes.
Yeah, they are. And while Nepal's context is unique, the principles that they're highlighting, they resonate far beyond Nepal.
Right.
Ideas like giving teachers more autonomy,
Yeah.
focusing on real-world skills, using technology to personalize learning. These are relevant to anyone who cares about the future of education.
Yeah, that's so true. It makes you wonder if Nepal could like become a model
Yeah.
for other countries looking to reform their own education system.
I think it has that potential.
Yeah.
If Nepal can successfully shift from a system that prioritizes memorization to one that nurtures creativity and problem solving,
Yeah.
it could really send a powerful message to the world.
It would be a real testament to the power of innovation and a belief in the potential of every student.
Imagine the impact.
Mm.
Other countries might look at Nepal and say, hey, if they can do it, why not us?
Yeah, I love that. It's inspiring to think about. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to go back to ND Lama's call to action.
Right.
They end their blog post with this powerful statement. Nepal's education future lies not in preserving bureaucracy, but in embracing innovation and equity.
Yeah.
What do you think they mean by that?
I think they're urging us to move beyond just like the status quo,
Mm-hmm.
to challenge the assumptions we have about education,
Mm-hmm.
to be willing to experiment,
Right.
try new approaches,
Yeah.
even if they seem radical.
It's about recognizing that the old ways of doing things, they may not be serving us anymore.
Right.
And that we need to be bold in our thinking about the future.
Exactly. And I think the idea of equity is really central here. It's not about creating a better system for some students. It's about creating a system that works for every student,
Right.
regardless of their background, their circumstances, or their learning style.
It's about creating a level playing field where every student has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
And that's a vision worth fighting for.
It really is. Now, for our listeners, I want to point out that ND Lama has included some really interesting references at the end of their blog post. There are articles about the education crisis in Nepal, and some groundbreaking works on teaching and learning, like Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. If you're interested in learning more, those are great places to start.
I would also encourage you to think about your own experiences with education. Think about, what kind of learning environment really allowed you to thrive, and
Yeah.
what kind of system you would want for future generations.
That's a great thought to leave us with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of education in Nepal.